All right, back again with another NCL video. This is my week 3 battle against Tiff. I had to record this in post because I played this battle on my phone while I was working at Dragon Con. Um, but yeah, so played Tiff. She brought 6 Pokemon that I kind of expected. I don't think I expected Heracross to come specifically. I think I was expecting Skarmory in that slot. Um, So her team is a bit more offensive here. Uh, but yeah, so I start the battle off doing exactly what I said I was going to do and just leading Hippowdon. Unfortunately, she led the best Pokemon into that. Um, so the game gets pretty awkward from here. I go straight into Salazzle, chew this energy ball. It's times 4 resisted. We'll take some more Sand Chip. She's going to switch into Paloswine while I click Substitute. Um, Substitute felt pretty safe there. I knew Energy Ball couldn't break the sub. Um, so that felt like a pretty safe play for me. Uh, Going Piloswine is actually really good for me. This is a really good matchup for Salazzle despite being times 4 weak to ground. Because I'm about to get a lot of chip on this thing and break it down. Which I really need to do for the Dracozolt in the back. So I managed to land that Toxic while she sets up rocks. Then I protect while she takes some Toxic chip. I am continually dying to this Sandstorm, but it's alright. Click Flamethrower, get a good amount of damage in. And now the sub is broken with that second Earthquake, but this thing is sitting at a low 29%, which felt really good. From here, I I end up switching to Hippowdon. Now, I originally thought she was going to keep this Piloswine in, but on subsequent rewatches, I realized that she knew that a second Flamethrower was going to kill this Piloswine, and she doesn't really have a lot of answers for Dracozolt. So she actually opts to preserve the Piloswine, um, which made a lot of sense from her end. It was just something that I didn't really think about in the moment. Um, but she sends out Gyarados, which is probably the best thing I could have swapped into here. Gives me a good chance to set up my Terra Water, which is really good. She ends up clicking Dragon Dance. I actually thought that she was going to attack, not expecting the Terra, so I clicked Slack Off. Kind of a wasted turn on my part. Um, it also makes pretty much every turn with Hippowdon after this super awkward. Because now I'm at 59%. I am now taking Sandstorm Chip on my Sand Setter. Um, but I end up getting this Whirlwind off, which is good. Brings out Heracross. Heracross probably one of the best things I could have brought out on this. I get really lucky with this close combat and barely live. Considering that I lived on 3%, it was probably a roll to kill, and I just so happened to win that. Get some Rocky Helmet chip, and I slack off. But again, I'm taking this Sand chip. It's not looking great. Um, I have to preserve Hippowdon for Mega Gyarados and Cinderace. So I end up making the decision here to just sack my Salazzle to this second close combat that I expected. Um, so it kind of is what it is. But now Heracross sitting at 59%, taking a lot of chip from like Rocky Helmet and Sand and that burn. Um, I end up going into Palafin here. Now, keep in mind, I can't calc because I'm on mobile. Um, Calcing on mobile is really hard, so I tend to just play by assumption. Um, I am assuming that regular Palafin kills this Heracross with Flip Turn. And I was trying to force it out with that, which luckily I do. So I Flip Turn out on the Mega Gyarados, go back into Hippowdon, which is, again, my only answer to this Pokemon. Uh, Take a lot of chip from rocks and sand. But I did see that Crunch only did 34% at +1 on Hippowdon earlier, so I am assuming that I live this Crunch, and I do with 5%. It's possible that this was a roll, but I really don't think so. Just given the original Crunch calc at +1. She takes more Rocky Helmet chip. I get my Slack off, and now that she's not +1, I get to click Slack off for free. Um, Kind of finally situating my Hippowdon to be at a comfortable HP. She, however, goes back into Piloswine, and with this swap, I assumed that she really wanted to click Toxic on Hippowdon. Um, that was my thought. Was that I didn't really see any reason for her to go into Piloswine other than to click Toxic on Hippowdon. Um, but that's actually not what she ends up doing. She ends up clicking Earthquake instead, which was really not what I expected to happen. I went into King Gambit because my Hippowdon HP is really, really important in this game, and I could not afford for it to be toxic. Um, but she ends up clicking Earthquake, which works out really well for her. Um, she gets a lot of damage on my King Gambit. And then she wins what I assume is a speed tie. Because looking at it, we are the same speed, and I have no speed investment on my King Gambit. I'm assuming she has no speed investment on her Piloswine. Um, or if she did, it was probably just enough to creep King Gambit, so the Oshard goes first. So King Gambit ends up not trading that kill with Piloswine. Um, she goes right into Cinderace. I kind of don't have a choice other than to sack King Gambit, so I just Sucker Punch to get some damage in. Um, Killing King Gambit with that Pyro Ball. Go back into Palafin now in hero form. I super threaten this thing out with Jet Punch. Um, but I make a read here. Last time I had Palafin in, she went into Gyarados, and I think she's going to do the same thing again. And that's exactly what she does. She goes back into Gyarados, so I click Close Combat and kill it. Um, from here, I actually assumed that Dracozolt did not kill Roserade from full. That's kind of what I was tracking in my head after Piloswine died. Was I just needed chip on Roserade um, for Dracozolt to kind of get in here and do some work. So I ended up making the decision to sack Palafin instead of switching into anything because I really can't switch into this Pokemon very well. With the NC or Hippowdon, I couldn't do Dracozolt without being in sand. So I end up sacking Palafin to the Energy Ball so that I can go into Hippowdon to set the sand and then swap out of Hippowdon into Dracozolt. I could have sacked Hippowdon there just as a way to preserve HP on Dracozolt, but I didn't want to end up in a situation, or I wanted to try and preserve as many Pokemon as I could, not just for differential, but because I thought the end game with Fluttermane could get really messy if she was Photosynthesis speed, which would outspeed Dracozolt, I'm pretty sure, probably by a mile. So I was trying to play for an end game where the Fluttermane was going to make things really hard for me. Um, but I chew the Energy Ball. She ends up getting the special defense drop. It doesn't end up mattering much. So hit the Bolt Beak. Roserade goes down. Heracross comes out here. Hit the Bolt Beak. Heracross goes down. She ends up going Cinderace. Cinderace is actually not Libero. Earlier, I did see Cinderace click Pyro Ball, but because Cinderace is originally a fire type, I actually kind of just assumed that Libero would not activate because that's the Pokemon's original type. So this is actually Blaze Cinderace, not Libero. Or actually, maybe Libero's banned. I actually have no idea. Like now, I've only just now had that thought that Libero might be banned on Cinderace. I really don't know. But either way, Sucker Punch doesn't do what it needs to. Bolt Beak ends up picking up that kill. And then she goes into Fluttermane. Was really afraid that this could be Photosynthesis speed. That's kind of the only thing that stopped the sweep here. But it ends up not being Photosynthesis speed. So then my second thought was, okay, is it Focus Sash? If it is, then I should still win. But I end up giving up one more differential. Luckily, it's not Focus Sash. If I had to guess, it probably is the Choice Spec set that I was trying to calc around with the Assault Vest Yancey. But yeah, so Dracozolt ends up picking up 4 kills in that battle, putting it tied in first place in the kill leader race, which is really cool. I definitely thought Dracozolt was like a cool pick when I grabbed it, and then it kind of filled roles that I needed it to fill. I definitely didn't think it would end up becoming my offensive leader or my kill leader. So yeah, so that was my battle with Tiff. I play Loose Kiss this week. Team Builder will go up on Tuesday as usual. Thanks for watching.